Mattaponi means either river of high banks, or in some place it means place of little bread.
The river has been a source of food and sustenance and joy and pleasure for eons, for years and years.
The Mattaponi River is a small tributary of the Chesapeake Bay, which, along with its neighboring river, the Pamunkey, feeds into the York between the James and the Rappahannock. The original territory was part of the Algonquin Nation, which once spanned from Maine down the northeastern seaboard. Currently, the members of the Mattaponi tribe reside on a small reservation which is located on the banks of their river. The Mattaponi tribe now possess only 150 acres, granted to them by the Treaty of 1658. The heritage of the Mattaponi is rich and ties into the story of Pocohontas and John Smith.
Well, Pocohontas, is the English name. Her name is really Matorka, and that means playful one or river between the hills. You've heard the river, how it ripples. It's almost like a musical chime. And we had a hard time with Jamestown, trying to say she died with smallpox. We know, and we knew from our history, she did not, because our history said she hemorrhaged from her mouth. One of my greatest achievements was when a friend of ours went back to England. I said, I want you to look in your records, because all of the records were sent back from these shores over to England and Scotland, and send me everything you could find. And there it was, just right there. It said she died in her husband's arms 2 days before sailing from possible pneumonia or consumption.
Let me tell you a story about when I was a child. The men here were pulpwood cutters, cutting logs and hauling it to a mill that produced paper. Well, there was not enough money from that job to raise families. Some families were as large as 8 or 10 or 12. So the river was an essential supplement to that income. My dad would come home after a long day's work, and my father would say, Kenneth, I'll take you today. Dad would get his boots on, I'd get my boots on. We'd head to the river, get in the boat, put the nets in. I'd come home, and then it would be my turn to fish all that night, so I'd get up again after 2 hours sleep.
Indigenous peoples of the Chesapeake Bay have always had a rich tradition as sustainable fishermen. Archaeologists at the Maryland Archaeological Conservation Laboratories are studying petroglyphs, which are thought to date back as far as 1,000 years. These enigmatic drawings in rock are thought to mark good fishing locations, describe tidal behavior, and indicate local fish species. Continuing their heritage of environmental stewardship, the Mattaponi operate a shad hatchery that repopulates the watershed with millions of new hatchlings every year.
And of course the shad is our most important fish.
The Mattaponi have relied on fish from the river for their livelihood for hundreds of years. Recently, the local government began plans to put a reservoir upstream of their reservation, posing a great threat to their natural resource.
If they would start drawing water, it would become salty. All of the plants, the rice, the mallard, and everything that is still growing on the Mattaponi River that we know about, all the fish, like white perch, yellow perch, sun perch, they could not spawn there, they cannot live, and it would wipe it completely out.
The reservoir would probably be extremely damaging to the tribal people. And when I say tribal people, I mean more than the 75 or 80 that live here. The last figures I heard was that there were perhaps as many as 600 Mattaponis with some Mattaponi blood across Virginia and maybe in other places, which means that they would be as eligible to fish here as the reservated people are.
We only have a small portion of land. That's our river. It's our baptismal font. It is where we fish for a living. It's where we almost worship it, really, because water is precious.
When the reservoir comes, and if it creates salinity in the water to an extent that the shad do not return for spawning, knowing that shad need fresh water to spawn in, well then what that has done is it has cut off a lifeline, if a person wants it, to the fish. There are people that live here on the reservation that harvest the shad. I'm one of them for sustenance. And here again, if salt water gets here, all of that disappears.